Maya Torres stood on the bridge of her cargo ship and looked out at the stars. She had been a ship commander for 5 years now, and she loved her job. The ship was called Horizon's Edge, and it carried supplies between human colonies. Her crew was small, just 15 people, and none of them were soldiers. They were traders, pilots, and engineers. Good people who wanted to make an honest living among the stars. Today was supposed to be a simple run. They were carrying medical supplies and farming equipment to a new colony on the edge of human space. The route took them through a neutral zone, an area where no government had control. It was usually safe enough. Most pirates stayed closer to the major trade routes where the big cargo ships traveled. Maya was wrong about that. The alarm started blaring without warning. Danny White, her pilot, looked up from his controls with wide eyes. "Commander, we have multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're surrounding us." Maya felt her stomach drop. She moved quickly to the sensor display and counted the hostile ships. 3 large cruisers and 12 smaller attack craft. The ships had the rough, mismatched look of pirate vessels. She recognized the design. Krellin raiders. They were known throughout this sector as brutal and greedy. "Try to hail them," Maya ordered, though she already knew it would not help. Pirates like these did not respond to reason. Danny sent out the communication request. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the main view screen flickered to life. A Krellin face appeared, covered in dark scales with multiple eyes that gleamed with cruel intelligence. The creature smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Human vessel, you are now our property," the Krellin said. His voice was rough and filled with satisfaction. "Power down your engines. Surrender your cargo and your ship. If you cooperate, we might let you live. If you resist, we will tear your ship apart and take what we want from the wreckage." Maya looked at her crew. They were all staring at her, waiting for orders. She saw fear in their eyes, but also trust. They believed she would find a way out of this. But Maya knew the truth. Her ship had no weapons. The shields were designed for asteroid impacts, not military-grade weapons. If the Krellin ships opened fire, Horizon's Edge would be destroyed in seconds. "We're just a cargo ship," Maya said to the Krellin commander. "We have medical supplies and farming equipment. Nothing valuable. Let us go, and you can find a better target." The Krellin laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Everything has value, human. Your ship, your cargo, your crew. We will decide what to do with all of it. You have 1 minute to surrender, or we start shooting." The communication ended. The view screen went dark. Maya's mind raced. She looked around her bridge at the people who depended on her. Danny at the pilot station, Karen Mills at navigation, Pete Johnson at communications. All of them looking at her with hope that she did not feel. Her hand moved to the small panel on her command chair. Hidden under a protective cover was a button she had never used before. An emergency beacon. Every human ship had one, military or civilian. It was a simple device, barely larger than her hand. But it sent a signal through subspace that traveled faster than any normal communication. Maya had heard the stories about these beacons. Every human spacer had. They said that if you activated one, the military would come. They said help always arrived no matter how far away you were. But they were just stories, weren't they? Legends told in bars and stations. Maya was 17 light-years from the nearest human military base. Even if the stories were true, even if help was coming, it would take hours to arrive. She and her crew would be dead or captured long before then. But what other choice did she have? "Commander, they're charging their weapons," Danny said. His voice shook. 30 seconds. Maya lifted the protective cover and looked at the red button underneath. Her finger hovered over it. If this did not work, if the stories were just myths, then she was about to die. But if there was even a small chance that help would come, she had to take it. She pressed the button. The beacon activated with a soft beep. A pulse of energy shot out from her ship, invisible to normal sensors, traveling through subspace at impossible speeds. It carried her ship's identification, their exact location, and a simple message. Human vessel under attack. Send help. The Krellin commander appeared on the view screen again. He had seen her activate the beacon. His expression changed from cruel satisfaction to anger. "You fool," he snarled. "You think that beacon will save you? You think anyone will arrive in time? The nearest human military base is light years away. We will be gone with your ship long before they even receive your pathetic distress call." Maya met his eyes and did not look away. Something in her had changed the moment she pressed that button. She felt calmer now, more focused. She had done everything she could. Now all she could do was buy time and hope. "You made a mistake coming here," Maya said quietly. "You have no idea what you just did." The Krellin laughed again. "I made a mistake. I am the one with weapons, human. I am the one with the power here. You are defenseless. You have nothing." Maya smiled. It was not a happy smile. "I have something you don't understand. I have other humans who will come for me. And when they arrive, you're going to wish you had left us alone." The Krellin's eyes narrowed. For just a moment, Maya saw something like doubt cross his face. Then it was gone, replaced by anger. "Kill them," he ordered his ships. "Show these humans what happens when they—" He never finished that sentence. Space itself seemed to tear open in front of Horizon's edge. 7 massive ruptures appeared in the darkness, glowing with blue-white energy. And through those ruptures came the human warships. 17 light-years away from where Maya pressed the beacon, Admiral Jacob Pierce was drinking coffee in his office. It was a quiet morning at Frontier Station 7, one of humanity's largest military installations in this region of space. The station was home to 23 warships, 4,000 personnel, and enough firepower to flatten a planet. It orbited a dead moon, far from any civilian traffic, and served as the rapid response center for human vessels in trouble. Jacob was reviewing supply reports when every screen in his office turned red. An alarm blared through the station, the sound that every military person knew and dreaded. A beacon had been activated. Jacob dropped his coffee cup and ran. He was 60 years old but still moved like a soldier. His office was close to the command center, and he reached it in less than 20 seconds. The room was already filled with activity. Officers were running to their stations. Screens were lighting up with data. Commander Lisa Grant stood at the main tactical display, her fingers flying across the controls. "Report," Jacob barked as he entered. Lisa did not look up from her screen. "Beacon activation, Grid Sector 447, single human vessel, cargo classification. 15 souls aboard. Multiple hostile contacts identified. Krellin raiders, sir. 3 cruisers and 12 attack craft." Jacob felt the familiar anger rise in his chest. Pirates. They targeted human ships less often now than they used to, but it still happened. And every time it did, the human military made sure those pirates regretted it. "Distance?" Jacob asked. 17.3 light-years, sir. Time to intercept? 7 minutes, 40 seconds if we use the new jump engines. Jacob nodded. 7 minutes. Fast enough. But he needed to make a decision right now. How many ships should he send? Standard protocol said 2 warships for a civilian rescue. That would be more than enough to handle 3 Krellin cruisers. But Jacob was not interested in just rescuing 1 ship today. He was interested in sending a message. "Sound General Quarters," Jacob ordered. "I want Battle Group Sierra deployed immediately. All 7 ships." Lisa's head snapped up. "Sir, that's a full battle group. Protocol suggests—" "I know what protocol suggests, Commander," Jacob interrupted. "But those pirates need to learn something today. They need to learn that when you attack a human ship, we don't just respond. We respond with overwhelming force. We make it so expensive, so dangerous, so absolutely terrifying that every other pirate in the galaxy hears about it and decides to stay far away from anything with a human flag." Lisa smiled. "Yes, sir. Deploying Battle Group Sierra." She entered the commands, and across the station, alarms began ringing. In barracks and ready rooms, personnel grabbed their gear and sprinted for their ships. The human military had spent decades perfecting this process. Every warship kept a minimum crew aboard at all times. Full battle stations could be achieved in under 2 minutes. Captains slept in rooms next to their bridges. Marines kept their weapons by their beds. Everyone knew that when the alarm sounded, seconds mattered. The flagship of Battle Group Sierra was the Liberty's call, a dreadnought-class warship that served as the most powerful ship in the sector. Its captain, Nicole Hayes, was already on her bridge when the alarm sounded. She had been reviewing navigational charts and was still in her uniform. She looked up at the tactical display and saw the beacon location immediately. "All hands, battle stations," Nicole said into the ship-wide communication system. Her voice was calm, but everyone who served under her knew that tone. It meant business. Navigation. Plot jump coordinates to grid sector 447. Weapons. I want all rail cannons loaded and mass drivers hot the moment we drop out of hyperspace. Shields to maximum the instant we arrive. If anything hostile so much as looks at us wrong, I want to be ready to turn it into scrap metal. Around her, the bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Lieutenant Barry Cox at the weapons station brought up the targeting systems. Ensign Linda Moore at navigation calculated the jump coordinates. Commander Paul Scott, Nicole's first officer, moved to stand beside her command chair. 7 ships for 1 cargo hauler, Captain? Paul asked quietly. Nicole looked at him. You think that's too many? I think it's exactly the right amount, Paul replied with a slight smile. Those pirates are about to have a very bad day. Nicole nodded. That's the idea. In the hangar bay of the carrier Valiant Dawn, Commander Frank Chen was already in his flight suit. He ran across the deck toward his fighter, a sleek attack craft designed for space combat. Around him, 47 other pilots were doing the same. They had trained for this, drilled for this, lived for this. When a human civilian was in danger, the military responded, and fighter pilots were always first into the fight. Frank climbed into his cockpit and began the startup sequence. The fighter's engines roared to life. His targeting computer initialized. His weapon systems came online. Through his canopy, he could see the other fighters launching in perfect formation. It was a beautiful sight. All fighters, this is Dawn Actual, came the voice of the carrier's commander over the radio. We have a civilian cargo ship under attack by Krellin pirates. Our mission is to eliminate the hostile forces and protect our people. Launch in 60 seconds. Good hunting. Frank checked his weapons one more time. Missiles loaded, energy cannons charged. He was ready. On the bridge of Liberty's call, Admiral Jacob Pierce's face appeared on the main view screen. He was addressing all 7 ships simultaneously. Attention all vessels of Battle Group Sierra, Jacob said. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. A human cargo ship is under attack 17 light-years from our position. 15 of our people are facing death or worse at the hands of Krellin pirates. We will not allow that to happen. We will jump to their location, we will eliminate the hostile forces, and we will bring our people home safely. The pirates chose to attack a human vessel. They are about to learn why that was the worst mistake of their lives. All ships, prepare to jump in 30 seconds. Nicole felt the familiar vibration as Liberty's call's jump engines powered up. The entire ship hummed with energy. Around her, the bridge crew completed their final checks. Everyone was ready. 20 seconds, the navigation officer called out. Nicole gripped her command chair. This was what they trained for. This was why the human military existed. Not to conquer, not to expand territory, but to protect. Every human ship that traveled through space did so, knowing that if they got in trouble, if they activated their beacon, help would come. Fast, overwhelming, unstoppable. 10 seconds. The other ships of the battle group moved into formation. 3 capital ships, 4 destroyers, and dozens of fighters. More firepower than most small nations could field. All of it about to be deployed to rescue 15 civilians. 5 seconds. Some people thought this was excessive. Some thought it was a waste of resources. Jacob had heard those arguments many times, but he knew the truth. This was not excessive. This was exactly what it needed to be, because every time they responded like this, every time they showed up with overwhelming force, they made it clear to every pirate, raider, and hostile force in the galaxy. Do not touch human ships. The cost is too high. The response is too fast. The consequences are too severe. The transformation of space was instant and absolute. One moment, Maya and her crew were facing certain death. The next moment, 7 human warships surrounded them like protective shields. The ships moved into formation with precision that spoke of thousands of hours of training. Every weapon, every shield, every system was active and ready. Captain Nicole Hayes sat in her command chair aboard Liberty's Call and studied the tactical display. The Krellin ships had not moved yet. They were probably still processing what had just happened. 3 cruisers and 12 attack craft against 7 human warships. The pirates were massively outgunned, and Nicole intended to make sure they knew it. "Open a channel to all hostile vessels," Nicole ordered. "All frequencies." Lieutenant Barry Cox worked his controls. "Channel open, Captain." Nicole leaned forward slightly. When she spoke, her voice was calm and professional, but there was steel underneath it. "Attention hostile vessels. This is Captain Nicole Hayes of the Human Defense Force warship Liberty's Call. You have attacked a vessel under our protection. You have threatened civilians under our care. You have made a grave mistake. Power down your weapons immediately and prepare to be boarded. You have 30 seconds to comply or we will open fire. This is your only warning." On the bridge of Horizon's Edge, Maya and her crew listened to the transmission in silence. Danny had stopped crying and was now staring at the view screen with his mouth open. Karen was gripping her console so hard her knuckles were white. Pete was recording everything, his hands shaking slightly on the controls. The Krellin commander appeared on the screen again. His multiple eyes were wide with fear, but he was trying to hide it behind anger. "You cannot do this," he snarled. "We are in neutral space. You have no authority here. We have broken no human laws." Nicole's expression did not change. "You attacked a human vessel. That gives us all the authority we need. 20 seconds. The Krellin looked at his tactical display, calculating his options. Maya could see him thinking. Could he fight? Could he run? Could he negotiate? She knew what he would decide. Pirates were bullies. They only attacked when they thought they could win easily. Faced with superior force, they always chose survival. But she was wrong. The Krellin commander's face twisted with rage. "I will not surrender to humans," he spat. "You think your technology makes you superior? You think your ships make you invincible? We will see. All vessels, scatter and jump to hyperspace. Show these humans that we do not fear them." The communication ended. The Krellin ships began to move. "Idiots," Paul Scott said quietly from his position beside Nicole's chair. Nicole nodded. "Tactical. Assign targets. Destroyers. Cover the attack craft. I want those cruisers disabled, not destroyed. We need prisoners for questioning. Weapons free on my mark." The human destroyers moved with a speed that seemed impossible for ships of their size. They were smaller than the capital ships but still massive, and they handled like fighters. Each destroyer locked onto multiple Krellin attack craft. The targeting computers painted the enemy vessels with dozens of laser designators. The lead Krellin cruiser tried to jump to hyperspace. Its engines began to glow as it charged its jump drive. It would take about 8 seconds to build up enough energy for the jump. The ship would be gone before the humans could react. Nicole watched the cruiser on her tactical display and waited. She counted down silently. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. 5 seconds. At 4 seconds, she gave the order. Fire! Liberty's Call's main cannon was a railgun the size of a building. It accelerated a solid metal slug to a significant fraction of the speed of light and fired it at the target. The slug crossed the distance between the two ships in less than a second. It hit the Krellin cruiser's engine section and went straight through it. The explosion was spectacular. The cruiser's jump drive overloaded, its engines detonated, and the entire back third of the ship was blown apart. Atmosphere vented into space in huge plumes. The ship went tumbling through the darkness, completely dead in space. Maya could see small escape pods launching from the wreckage. "Target neutralized," Barry Cox reported. "No casualties on the enemy vessel. Their life support is still functioning." Nicole nodded with satisfaction. A perfect shot. The cruiser was disabled, but the crew would survive. That was important. Dead pirates could not spread the word about what happened here. The other 2 Krellin cruisers saw their leader's ship destroyed and immediately changed course. They tried to run in different directions. The human destroyers moved to intercept. Two destroyers pursued each cruiser, their weapon systems locked and ready. Commander Frank Chen led his fighter squadron toward the Krellin attack craft. The small pirate ships were trying to scatter, but they were slow and clumsy compared to human fighters. Frank selected a target and accelerated. His fighter shot forward, the engines pushing him back into his seat. "All fighters, engage at will," Frank ordered over the radio. "Remember, disable only. We want survivors." The dogfight was over in less than 2 minutes. The human fighters were faster, more maneuverable, and better armed. They used precision shots to disable engines and weapon systems. Krellin attack craft spun out of control or drifted helplessly through space. Not a single one escaped. On the Bridge of Liberty's call, Nicole watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. It was not really a battle. It was a demonstration. The Krellin ships had no chance from the beginning. Every hostile vessel was either disabled or surrendering. The entire engagement had taken less than 5 minutes. "Status report," Nicole ordered. "All hostile vessels neutralized," Barry Cox replied. "No enemy ships destroyed, but all are disabled or surrendering. Casualties: minimal on their side, 0 on ours. We have multiple escape pods in the area requesting rescue." "Have the Marines start recovery operations," Nicole said. "I want every pirate on those ships arrested and processed, and someone get me a damage report on the civilian vessel." "Horizon's Edge reports no damage, Captain," the communications officer said. "Commander Torres is requesting permission to speak with you directly." Nicole smiled slightly. "Put her through." Maya's face appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted and relieved and confused, all at once. "Captain Hayes, I don't know what to say." "Thank you seems inadequate." "You're welcome, Commander Torres," Nicole replied. "But thanks are not necessary. You activated your beacon. We responded. That's how it works. That's how it always works." "7 ships," Maya said, shaking her head. "You sent 7 warships for 1 cargo hauler. I still can't believe it." "Believe it," Nicole said. "Every human vessel gets the same response. It doesn't matter if you're military or civilian, a colony ship, or a private yacht. You're human, and that means we protect you. No exceptions, no debate." Behind Maya, her crew was celebrating. Danny was hugging Karen. Pete was laughing. Other crew members were visible in the background, all of them smiling and talking excitedly. They had survived. They were safe. "The Krellin commander said we were in neutral space," Maya said. "He said you had no authority here." Nicole's expression hardened. He was wrong. When someone attacks a human vessel, they give us all the authority we need. We don't need permission to protect our own. That's not how we operate. Admiral Jacob Pierce's face appeared in a smaller window on the screen. He had been monitoring the situation from Frontier Station 7. "Commander Torres, this is Admiral Pierce. I'm glad you and your crew are safe. Once the Marines finish securing the pirate vessels, I'm assigning an escort to take you to your destination. You'll have 2 destroyers with you for the rest of your journey." Maya's eyes widened. "Admiral, that's not necessary. The pirates are gone. We'll be fine." "It's not negotiable, Commander," Jacob said. His tone was kind but firm. "You were attacked once today. It won't happen again." "Not on my watch. Those destroyers will make sure you reach your destination safely. After that, you can continue your normal routes." Maya nodded slowly. "Thank you, Admiral." "Thank all of you for staying calm and following procedure," Jacob replied. "Activating the beacon was exactly the right choice. You saved your crew by doing that." The communication ended. Maya sat back in her command chair and looked around her bridge. Her crew was still celebrating, but she felt different. She felt like she had just learned something important about the universe she lived in. Danny noticed her expression and came over. "Commander, are you okay?" Maya nodded slowly. "I'm fine, Danny. I'm just thinking." "About what?" "About those stories we always heard. About how humans protect their own. About how help always comes when you activate the beacon. I always thought they were exaggerations, but they're not, are they? They're absolutely true." Danny looked out at the warships surrounding them. "I guess so. 7 ships in 7 minutes. That's pretty incredible." 2 hours after the battle ended, Maya found herself aboard Liberty's Call. A small shuttle had brought her over from Horizon's Edge, while her crew remained behind to prepare for the journey ahead. The destroyer was enormous inside, with corridors wide enough to drive vehicles through and ceilings that stretched high above her head. Marines in armor stood guard at key intersections. Crew members moved with purpose through the halls. Everything was clean, organized, and professional. A young lieutenant guided Maya to a conference room deep inside the ship. The door opened automatically, and Maya stepped inside to find Admiral Pierce and Captain Hayes waiting for her. They stood when she entered, a sign of respect that surprised her. She was just a cargo ship commander. They were military leaders responsible for entire fleets. "Commander Torres, please sit," Jacob said, gesturing to a chair across from them. "Can we get you anything? Coffee? Water?" Maya sat down slowly. "Water would be nice, thank you." Nicole poured a glass from a pitcher on the table and handed it to Maya. "How's your crew doing?" "They're shaken, but okay," Maya replied. "Most of them have never been in combat before. Neither have I, really. That was the closest I've ever come to dying." Jacob nodded. "I'm sorry you had to experience that, but I'm glad you followed protocol and activated the beacon. That decision saved your lives." Maya took a sip of water and gathered her thoughts. She had so many questions, and this might be her only chance to get answers. "Admiral, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why 7 ships? I understand sending help, but why that many? The cost alone must be enormous. The fuel, the resources, the personnel. All of that for one cargo hauler with 15 people aboard. It seems like too much." Jacob and Nicole exchanged a look. Then Jacob leaned forward, his elbows on the table. "It seems like too much because you're thinking about it wrong, Commander. This isn't just about rescuing your ship. This is about strategy. This is about making sure we never have to rescue as many ships in the future." Maya frowned. "I don't understand." Nicole spoke up. "Let me explain it this way. How many human cargo ships are operating in this sector right now?" "I don't know exactly," Maya said. "Maybe 100? Maybe more?" 143, Nicole said. "We track every registered human vessel. Now, imagine if we had only sent 1 ship to rescue you. Or 2. Just enough to drive off those pirates and save your crew. What message does that send?" Maya thought about it. "That you'll respond to distress calls?" "Yes, but weekly," Jacob said. "It says we'll send the minimum force necessary. It says we're counting costs. It says maybe, if the pirates have enough ships or enough firepower, they could still win. So what happens then?" "I guess other pirates would try their luck," Maya admitted. "Exactly," Jacob said. "They would see a human ship and think, maybe I can take them. Maybe if I bring enough firepower, I can beat the human response. And then we'd have to respond to more attacks, more beacons, more rescues, more dead civilians before we arrive." Nicole continued the explanation. "But when we send 7 warships, when we respond with overwhelming force, we send a completely different message. We say that attacking a human vessel means facing the full might of our military. It doesn't matter if you're attacking a cargo ship or a colony transport or a small private yacht. The response is the same. Massive, fast, unstoppable. And that changes the calculation for pirates," Jacob added. "They start to think, is it worth it? Is the cargo on that human ship valuable enough to risk facing 7 warships? To risk death or capture? For most of them, the answer is no. So they leave human ships alone and look for easier targets." Maya was beginning to understand. "So you're not just rescuing ships. You're preventing attacks from happening in the first place." "Exactly," Jacob said with approval. "It's about deterrence. Every time we respond like this, every time we show up with more firepower than necessary, we reinforce the message. Don't attack human ships. The cost is too high." "But how long have you been doing this?" Maya asked. "This can't be standard procedure everywhere." Nicole smiled slightly. "It's been our doctrine for about 20 years now. It started small, just in a few sectors. But the results were undeniable. Pirate attacks on human vessels dropped dramatically in areas where we use this rapid response protocol. So we expanded it. Built more rapid response stations. Trained more crews, Improved our jump technology to cut response times. Jacob pulled up a display on the table. Numbers and graphs appeared in holographic form above the surface. Look at this data. 20 years ago, human vessels in this sector faced an average of 30 pirate attacks per month. Today, that number is down to 3. And most of those 3 are from new pirates who haven't heard the stories yet. Once they make the mistake of attacking a human ship once, they never try it again. Or they're dead, Nicole added bluntly. Not all pirates surrender like the ones today. Some fight, some die. But alive or dead, they all serve the same purpose. They become examples. Maya studied the graphs. The reduction in attacks was dramatic, but something still bothered her. What about the cost, though? Keeping all these ships ready? Maintaining rapid response capabilities? The fuel for constant high-speed jumps? It must be incredibly expensive. It is, Jacob admitted. Our budget for rapid response operations is substantial. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of losing ships? What's the cost of dead civilians? What's the cost of human cargo vessels being afraid to travel through certain sectors? What's the cost of colonies not receiving supplies because traders are too scared to make the journey? Maya had not thought about it that way. I suppose those costs would be much higher. They would be astronomical, Nicole said. We ran the numbers. If we didn't have this rapid response system, if we let pirates operate freely, we would lose dozens of ships per year, thousands of lives, billions in cargo and vessels. And human expansion into new territories would slow down because people would be too afraid to travel. Jacob nodded. So yes, this system is expensive, but it's far cheaper than the alternative. And it has another benefit we didn't fully anticipate. What's that? Maya asked. Reputation, Jacob said. The galaxy knows now that humans protect their own. Other species respect that. Some fear it, but everyone understands it. And that reputation helps us in ways that have nothing to do with pirates. Diplomatic negotiations, trade agreements, alliance discussions. Everyone knows that when you deal with humans, we keep our promises, we protect our people, we don't abandon our own. Nicole stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Maya could see the other warships of the battle group holding position around Horizon's edge. You know what the other species call us? The Guardians. They say humans are obsessive about protecting their own. They say we'll cross half the galaxy to rescue a single person. They're right, and that reputation serves us well. Maya absorbed all of this. It made sense now. The 7 ships were not excessive. They were exactly what was needed, not just to rescue her crew, but to maintain a system that had saved countless lives over the years. What happens to the pirates? Maya asked. They'll be processed under galactic law, Jacob said. We have agreements with the Central Authority. Piracy is illegal everywhere, not just in human space. They'll stand trial, probably serve time in a detention facility. But more importantly, they'll talk. They'll tell other spacers what happened. They'll spread the story. And that story will save lives, Nicole added, because the next pirate who sees 3 weeks had passed since the incident. Maya was back on duty with a new ship, the Morning Star, slightly larger than Horizon's Edge and better equipped. Her crew was a mix of familiar faces from her old ship and some new members who had specifically requested to serve under her. Apparently, surviving a pirate attack and being rescued by 7 warships made you famous in certain circles. Maya walked through the main concourse of Frontier Station 7, where human and alien spacers mixed freely. The station was a hub of commerce and travel with dozens of species represented. She needed to pick up some supplies before her next cargo run, but she was in no hurry. The Morning Star would not depart for another 6 hours. As she passed a crowded bar near the docking levels, she overheard a conversation that made her stop. 2 Vrexian traders were talking at a table near the entrance. Vrexians were reptilian creatures, about human height but with scales that changed color based on their mood. These 2 had the dull green coloring that indicated they were relaxed and talking casually. I'm telling you, stay away from human shipping lanes, one Vrexian was saying. His voice was low but urgent. The Krellin Syndicate lost 3 ships last month. Do you know why? The other Vrexian leaned forward. Pirates? No, they were the pirates. They attacked a human cargo ship, one ship, just a civilian hauler with no weapons. And 7 human warships arrived in less than 10 minutes. 7. For one cargo ship. The second Vrexian's scales shifted to a lighter shade of green, indicating surprise. That's impossible. No one responds that fast. The humans do. Everyone knows this now. They have rapid response fleets positioned throughout their territory. If you attack a human vessel, they come. Fast, heavily armed, and they don't negotiate. What happened to the Krellin ships? Destroyed or captured. The humans disabled them without breaking a sweat. It wasn't even a fight. It was a demonstration. The second Vrexian was quiet for a moment. So the stories are true. The humans really do protect their own like that. Every single time. I've been hauling cargo for 15 years and I've never seen anything like it. Most governments will send help eventually, maybe in a few hours or a day. But you have to weigh whether you can survive that long. The humans don't make you wait. They show up immediately with more firepower than any pirate fleet can handle. Is that why human cargo ships travel alone now? I've noticed they don't use convoys anymore. Exactly. They don't need protection because they are the protection. Every human ship has a beacon. Every beacon gets the same response. Pirates learned quickly that human vessels are off limits. Maya smiled to herself and continued walking. The story was spreading, just like Admiral Pierce had said it would. She wondered how many conversations like that were happening across the galaxy right now. She reached a supply depot and placed her order for food and spare parts. While she waited for the items to be loaded, she checked her datapad and pulled up the latest security reports for her sector. It was something she did regularly now, a habit formed from her close call with the pirates. The numbers were striking. Pirate activity in human-controlled space was down 18% compared to the previous year. More importantly, attacks on human vessels specifically were down 32%. The rapid response system was working exactly as intended. But the reports also showed something else. Pirate attacks on non-human vessels had increased by 14%. The pirates had not stopped operating. They had simply changed their target selection. They went after ships belonging to species whose governments responded slowly or not at all. Maya felt a pang of guilt about that. The human protection system was working, but it was pushing the problem onto others. She made a mental note to mention this to Admiral Pierce if she ever got the chance. Maybe there was something the humans could do to help other species protect their ships too. As she left the supply depot, Maya ran into Danny, who was carrying a large crate of navigation equipment. "Hey, Commander," he said cheerfully. "Getting ready for the next run?" "Just picking up supplies," Maya replied. "How are you settling in with the new ship?" "She's great. Faster engines, better sensors, and those new defensive shields the military installed make me feel a lot safer." "They insisted on upgrading our defenses," Maya said. "I think Admiral Pierce felt guilty that we got attacked in the first place." Danny laughed. "He shouldn't. Pirates attack ships all the time. The important thing is that he responded when we called. Speaking of which, have you heard the news?" "What news?" "The military is opening 2 new rapid response stations in this sector. They're expanding coverage to cut response times even more. The goal is to get to 5 minutes anywhere within 30 light years of a station." Maya whistled softly. 5 minutes? That's incredible. "That's humans," Danny said with pride. "Always improving, always protecting. I'm glad I'm on the right side of that equation." They parted ways and Maya continued her walk through the station. She passed a group of human colonists who recognized her and nodded respectfully. Word had gotten around about who she was. The commander who activated the beacon, the woman whose distress call brought 7 warships. She was not entirely comfortable with the attention, but she understood it. Her story had become part of the larger narrative, the proof that the system worked. Near the central plaza, Maya saw something that surprised her. A small memorial had been set up, just a simple display with names and dates. She moved closer to read it. The memorial honored human spacers who had died in pirate attacks over the past 50 years. The list was long, hundreds of names stretching back decades. But Maya noticed something interesting. The dates clustered heavily in the older years. 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. There were many deaths back then. But as the list moved toward the present, The names became fewer. 20 years ago, when the rapid response system started, the deaths dropped dramatically. In the past 5 years, there were only 6 names on the list. 6 deaths in 5 years, compared to dozens per year in the past. The system was not perfect. People still died. But far fewer than before. The numbers told a clear story. The rapid response doctrine was saving lives. It's quite something, isn't it? Maya turned to see an older man standing beside her. He wore civilian clothes but had the bearing of a military veteran. "I'm sorry," Maya said. "The memorial," the man explained. "My daughter's name is on there. Julia Manning. She died 22 years ago in a pirate attack. Her ship sent a distress call, but help didn't arrive in time." "I'm so sorry for your loss," Maya said quietly. The man nodded. "Thank you. But I wanted you to know something. After Julia died, I petitioned the government to change how we respond to distress calls. I argued that we needed faster response times, more ships dedicated to rescue operations, better coverage. Most people thought I was crazy. They said it would cost too much, that it wasn't practical. But they listened," Maya said. "Eventually, yes. It took years, but Admiral Pierce and others like him pushed the program through. They built the rapid response stations. They trained the crews. They created the system that saved your life 3 weeks ago." Maya looked at the memorial again, seeing it with new understanding. "So all of this, the 7 ships, the rapid response, it started because of people like your daughter. It started because we decided that every human life matters," the man said. "That we would not accept losing our people to pirates and raiders. That we would spend whatever it takes, deploy whatever force is necessary to protect our own. Your rescue wasn't just about you, Commander Torres. It was about honoring every name on this memorial, making sure their deaths meant something." The man walked away, leaving Maya alone with the memorial. She stood there for a long time, reading names and thinking about the system that had saved her life. It was easy to see the rapid response fleet as just military strategy. But it was more than that. It was a promise kept, a commitment honored, a declaration that human lives had value and would be protected. Later that day, Maya returned to the Morning Star and found her crew preparing for departure. The 2 escort destroyers that had accompanied them from the attack site had departed that morning, their mission complete. But Maya felt no fear as she prepared to leave the station. She knew what waited in the darkness now. Not just danger, but protection. Not just threats, but guardians. She sat in her command chair and looked at the small beacon mounted beside it. Such a simple device, just a button and a transmitter. But it represented something profound. The promise that she was never alone. That help would always come. That somewhere, every moment of every day, human warships stood ready to jump to her location at a moment's notice. 6 months after Maya's rescue, Admiral Jacob Pierce stood in the command center of Frontier Station 7 and studied the latest reports. The numbers continued to improve. Beacon activations were down 24% compared to the previous year. Pirate attacks on human vessels had dropped to historic lows. The rapid response system had become so effective that most pirates avoided human ships entirely now. But Jacob was not celebrating. He was looking at a different set of numbers, ones that troubled him. Attacks on non-human vessels were up 21% in the same period. The pirates had adapted. They had learned that human ships were too dangerous to touch, so they focused their attention elsewhere. Ships belonging to the Vrexian Commerce Guild, the Talarian Confederacy, and dozens of smaller species were being hit more frequently. "Admiral, you have a visitor," Commander Lisa Grant said from her station. "Ambassador Chen from the Galactic Council. He says it's urgent." Jacob nodded. "Send him in." Ambassador Chen was human, but represented Earth's interests on the Galactic Council, the loose organization that attempted to maintain peace and cooperation among the various species that traveled through space. He was a thin man in his 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. He entered the command center with the practiced ease of someone who had visited many military installations. "Admiral Pierce," Chen said, shaking Jacob's hand. "Thank you for seeing me on short notice." "Of course, Ambassador. What can I do for you?" Chen pulled out a datapad and displayed a series of charts. I'm here to talk about your rapid response program. It's become quite controversial in certain circles. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Controversial? It's saving human lives. It is, Chen agreed. And that's not the problem. The problem is that it's only saving human lives. Other species are seeing dramatic increases in pirate activity while human ships travel safely. Some ambassadors are claiming that your program is discriminatory. That's ridiculous, Jacob said firmly. We protect human ships because we're the human military. That's our job. We don't have the authority or resources to protect everyone. I understand that, Chen said. But perception matters in galactic politics. Some species are starting to view humans as selfish. They say we only care about our own people and ignore everyone else's suffering. Jacob considered this. He had anticipated this criticism eventually, but he had hoped it would not come so soon. What do they want us to do? Stop protecting our own ships so that the pirates spread their attacks more evenly? No, of course not. But several species have approached me with a proposal. They want to know if the human military would be willing to extend protection to their vessels as well. Not for free, obviously. They're willing to pay for the service. Jacob was surprised. They want to hire us to protect their ships? Yes. The Vrexian Commerce Guild is particularly interested. They've lost 9 ships in the past 4 months. Their own military can't respond fast enough, and their insurance costs are becoming unbearable. They're willing to sign a contract with the human government for protection services. Jacob thought about the implications. It was an interesting idea, but it came with complications. That would require significant expansion of our fleet. More ships, more personnel, more stations. And there's the political angle. If we start protecting some species and not others, it could create resentment. I've discussed this with the council, Chen said. There's actually quite a bit of support for the idea. Multiple species would want to participate. We could create a joint protection force with humans providing the rapid response capability and other species contributing resources and personnel. A galactic protection fleet, Jacob said slowly. Interesting. Think about it, Admiral. Your rapid response doctrine has proven incredibly effective. Imagine if we could extend that protection across the entire galactic community. Piracy would drop dramatically everywhere. Trade would be safer. Cooperation between species would increase. It's an opportunity to turn your success into something even bigger. After Chen left, Jacob called a meeting with his senior staff. Captain Nicole Hayes came over from Liberty's call. Commander Frank Chen joined via video link from his carrier. Lisa Grant and several other officers gathered in the conference room. Jacob explained the ambassador's proposal and waited for reactions. It's ambitious, Nicole said, but doable if we get the resources. We would need to at least triple our fleet size to cover protection contracts with multiple species. The logistics would be challenging, Frank added. Different species have different communication protocols, different beacon systems, different legal frameworks. We would need to standardize everything. But the benefits would be significant, Lisa pointed out. If we reduce piracy across the board, human ships become safer too. And the political goodwill would be valuable. Right now, some species see us as isolated and self-interested. This would change that perception. Jacob nodded slowly. I agree. It's worth pursuing. But we need to be careful. We can't compromise the protection we provide to human vessels. That has to remain our top priority. We could tier the service, Nicole suggested. Human ships get the full rapid response. 7 ships minimum, no exceptions. Contract species get protection, but maybe with slightly longer response times or fewer ships depending on their contribution level. That could work, Jacob agreed. We maintain our commitment to our own people while still helping others. And the other species would understand. They're not asking us to treat them exactly the same. They just want some level of protection. Over the next several months, the plan took shape. The human government negotiated contracts with 6 different species. Each agreed to contribute resources, ships, and personnel to the expanded protection fleet. The humans provided the command structure, the rapid response technology, and the training. New stations were built. New ships were commissioned. The fleet grew. A year after Maya's rescue, the Galactic Protection Initiative officially launched. It was not perfect. Response times for non-human vessels were longer, usually around 15 to 20 minutes instead of 7. The force deployed was typically smaller, 3 or 4 ships instead of 7. But it was still far better than what most species had before, and the results were immediate. Piracy across participating species dropped by 43% in the first 6 months. Insurance costs fell, trade increased, the galactic economy grew stronger. Maya heard about all of this through news reports and conversations with other spacers. She was still running cargo routes, still commanding the Morning Star, but now she noticed something different when she traveled through space. She saw ships from other species flying alongside human vessels. She saw mixed crews working together. She saw the beginnings of something that looked like real cooperation. One day, Maya's ship received a distress call. Not from a human vessel, but from a Vrexian cargo ship under attack by pirates. The Vrexian ship was part of the Protection Initiative. "Danny, how far away are they?" Maya asked. 12 light years, Commander. Too far for us to help directly. Log the distress call with the nearest rapid response station. Let's make sure they get help. Already done, Danny replied. Station reports 4 human ships are jumping to their location now. Estimated arrival time is 18 minutes. Maya smiled. The system was expanding. The protection that had saved her life was now saving others. And somewhere, Admiral Pierce and his team were continuing to refine the process, working to make those 18 minutes into 15, then 12, then 10. 2 years after her rescue, Maya was promoted to Regional Logistics Coordinator. It was a desk job, but it gave her oversight of cargo operations across 3 sectors. One of her first initiatives was to work with the Protection Initiative to optimize shipping routes. By coordinating human and non-human vessels, they could create safer corridors with better coverage. She also pushed for better beacon technology. The current beacons worked well, but they could be improved. Maya wanted beacons that provided more information, that could transmit ship status and specific threats. The military agreed, and a new generation of beacons was developed. But throughout all of this, the core principle remained the same. When someone activated a beacon, help came. Fast, overwhelming, unstoppable. Maya never forgot the day she pressed that button. The moment of decision when she chose to trust the system, to believe the stories, to call for help even though it seemed impossible that it would arrive in time. And then the moment, just minutes later, when 7 warships tore through space itself to reach her. She kept that original beacon from Horizon's Edge in her office now. It sat on her desk, a small device that represented something much larger. It reminded her every day why she did this work, why the humans built this system, why they spent enormous resources to maintain it. Because in the vast darkness of space, nobody should face danger alone. Because every life had value. Because protecting others was not weakness but strength. Because the cost of saving lives was always worth paying. Admiral Jacob Pierce eventually retired, but the system he built continued. New admirals took his place, but they maintained the same doctrine. Beacon activations got the same response. 7 ships for human vessels, every time. Smaller forces for contract species, but still fast, still effective. The galaxy changed because of it. Pirates became rare. The ones who remained were careful, selective, and generally avoided any vessel connected to the Protection Initiative. Trade flourished. New colonies were established in areas that had once been too dangerous. Species that had never cooperated before began working together. And in bars and stations across the galaxy, spacers still told the story. About the human commander who activated 1 beacon. About the 7 warships that materialized in its wake. About the moment when everyone realized that humans meant what they said about protecting their own. The story became legend, but it was a legend based on truth. A legend that continued to save lives every day. A legend that proved that sometimes the best way to prevent violence was to make the cost of violence too high. Maya Torres grew old but never stopped working in the shipping industry. She trained new commanders, taught them about the beacon system, shared her story with anyone who would listen. And whenever a young spacer expressed doubt, whenever someone questioned whether the rapid response fleet would really come, she would smile and point to her old beacon on the desk. I pressed that button when I thought I was going to die, she would say. And 7 minutes later, I was surrounded by more firepower than most pirate fleets could imagine. The system works. It always works. Press the beacon, and they will come. And they always did. In the end, the rapid response doctrine became more than just a military strategy. It became a symbol of what humanity represented in the galaxy: protection, commitment, the absolute refusal to abandon one of their own. Other species might have more territory, more resources, or more advanced technology, but none of them had what the humans had. None of them would cross the galaxy for a single ship. None of them would deploy overwhelming force to rescue 15 civilians. The humans did. Every time. Without question, without hesitation. And that made all the difference. Maya Torres lived to see piracy nearly eliminated in her region of space. She saw human and alien crews working together on protection initiative ships. She saw the beacon response time drop to 4 minutes in some areas. She saw her story become part of history, taught to children in schools and cadets in military academies. And every single day, somewhere in the galaxy, someone pressed a beacon, and help came. Just like it had come for her. Just like it would come for the next person who needed it. Because that was the promise. That was the commitment. That was what it meant to be human among the stars. 1 beacon, 7 warships, and a galaxy forever changed. "Commander, we're ready to depart," Danny said from the pilot station. "Take us out," Maya ordered. "And Danny, plot us a course through the outer shipping lanes, the ones that are supposed to be dangerous." Danny looked back at her with surprise. "Are you sure? Those lanes have higher pirate activity." Maya smiled. "I'm sure. We have a beacon, we have escorts available, and we have a galaxy full of pirates who need to learn that human ships go wherever we want. It's time we stopped avoiding the dangerous routes and started reclaiming them." Danny grinned and turned back to his controls. "Yes, Commander. Plotting course now." As the Morning Star undocked from the station and accelerated toward open space, Maya thought about the conversations happening across the galaxy. The stories spreading from bar to bar, station to station. The reputation humans were building. The fear they were instilling in those who would prey on the weak. And she thought about the memorial, with its long list of names that grew shorter every year. The system was working. Lives were being saved. And somewhere, Admiral Pierce and Captain Hayes and thousands of other military personnel stood ready to respond, to protect, to ensure that the list of names grew as slowly as possible. Maya Torres had activated 1 beacon. 7 human warships had materialized in its wake, and the galaxy would never forget it. A human ship will remember it. He'll remember that attacking humans means facing 7 warships in under 10 minutes, and he'll decide to find a different target. Maya stood up. "Thank you for explaining this to me. I feel like I understand now. This isn't about my ship. It's about all the ships, all the people." "It's about both," Jacob corrected gently. "We came for you because you're human and you needed help. The bigger strategy is important, but never forget that we came for you specifically. You and your crew. Each individual matters." Nicole walked Maya to the door. "Your escort destroyers will stay with you until you reach your destination. After that, you can resume normal operations, but you'll always have your beacon. And you know now that if you ever need to use it again, we'll come. Every time, no matter what." Maya shook hands with both of them. As she left the conference room and walked back through the massive warship toward the shuttle bay, she thought about everything she had learned. The human military had turned protection into a science. They had calculated the costs and benefits. They had built a system that saved lives through deterrence rather than just rescue. But underneath all the strategy and planning, there was something simpler. Something more human. They came because one of their own was in trouble. They would always come. That was the promise every human carried with them into space. You are not alone. Help is always coming. Just press the beacon and wait. Maya had pressed the beacon. And 7 warships had answered in 7 minutes. She would never forget that. Maya watched as the human fighters returned to their carrier. She watched as Marines in small assault craft moved toward the disabled pirate vessels. She watched as the massive warships held position around her small cargo hauler, protecting it like it was the most important ship in the galaxy. Not incredible, Maya said quietly. Deliberate. They do this on purpose. They respond with overwhelming force so that everyone knows what happens when you attack a human ship. It's not about rescuing us. I mean, it is, but it's also about sending a message. Danny thought about that. What message? Maya smiled. Don't touch human ships. Because if you do, you don't face one ship or two ships. You face the entire fleet, and you lose. Jump. Space folded. 7 warships vanished from Frontier Station 7, traveling faster than light through dimensions that most species barely understood. They crossed 17 light-years in 7 minutes. And when they emerged ready for war. Maya Torres was still staring at the Krellin commander when space tore open and the human fleet arrived. She watched his expression change from anger to shock to absolute terror. 7 warships materialized in perfect formation, their weapons already tracking the pirate vessels. The Liberty's call was directly in front of Horizon's Edge, so close that Maya could see individual weapon ports along its hull. "Oh no," the Krellin commander whispered. Then he started shouting orders in his own language. Maya knew what he was seeing. He was seeing 7 human warships, each one larger and more powerful than anything in his fleet. He was seeing dozens of fighters launching from the carrier. He was seeing targeting lasers painting every pirate ship simultaneously. He was seeing the end of his attack and possibly his life. They were enormous. The largest one stretched nearly a kilometer long, covered in weapons and armor. 4 smaller ships, though each still much larger than any Krellin vessel, flanked it on both sides. 2 more capital ships, just as massive, completed the formation. Maya's crew erupted in cheers and shouts of joy. Danny was laughing and crying at the same time. Karen was hugging Pete. Everyone was celebrating. But Maya just stared at the fleet that had appeared in front of them. 7 warships. 7. For 1 cargo ship. She had activated the beacon less than 8 minutes ago. The stories were true, all of them. And now the Krellin pirates were about to learn why nobody attacked human ships.